everybody, I'm Sarah and I'm a recorder player. Yes! Time to film this video again. Oh god, I didn't check. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Blah blah. Time to film this video again. I filmed it last week, but my microphone wasn't plugged in, so there was no sound. Okay, recorder myths. I asked you on Instagram, what are the recorder myths and assumptions you hear all the time? I'm here to quash them and or say, that's actually correct. Let's go. Number one, I hear all the time, the recorder is not a real instrument. I mean, they feel pretty real to me. What people mean is the recorder is not a real professional instrument worthy of being on a public stage and worthy of respect. Those people just don't know the true power and majestic beauty of our instrument. That's okay, that's what Team Recorder and all of my professional recording playing colleagues are here for. Yeah, well, let's get on with the rest of the video because I think the same things are going to keep coming back. The recorder is a child's instrument. What many people think of when they think of the recorder are these plastic instruments. Mine is taped up with duct tape, I think from when I made bagpipes. But actually there are very many professional recorder players all over the world. In history, the recorder enjoyed a really high status. It was played by kings and in palaces and at the courts. It was extremely respected. King Henry VIII, he blimmin' loved a recorder. I think where this assumption comes from is that because you can buy a plastic recorder for not very much money, they were often used in schools. Then you get a lot of kids who start the recorder, give up quite quickly and have this association with it that it's a terrible thing. Imagine if you gave every single child in every school a violin or a valve trombone. You would have the same thing with those instruments because they're all so hard. There are people like me and many others that go through, study the recorder at a high level and make it into our jobs. So yes, myth busted, I hope. The recorder is not an orchestral instrument. When people say this, they're probably referring to the big classical romantic symphony orchestra, 19th century, blah. Yeah, there are no recorders there. That is true. It doesn't mean that recorders haven't played in an orchestral or a large ensemble context. In the Baroque times, 17th, 18th century, the recorder was a fixture of the orchestra, also in opera. In contemporary music, you often get recorders in large mixed ensembles, now that we're getting a bit more used to unusual instrument combinations. And of course, there are loads of concertos written for the recorder. That is where there is a recorder soloist playing in front of an orchestra. So I actually did a whole video on recorder and orchestra. Yes. Myth, you cannot play chromatic notes. That is not true. You'd be surprised how many professional woodwind players I've had ask me, can I play chromatics? Because we have no keys, we can play microtones, quarter tones, the notes between the chromatics. The recorder is easy to learn. Okay, with the recorder, it is easy to physically make a sound. You just blow. You don't need an embouchure or a reed. The embouchure is created for you right here. But that is actually where the easiness stops. The instrument is extremely responsive to your breath pressure, your articulation, and you have very complex finger combinations. All of this combined makes it a very challenging instrument to play. We also play recorders in different keys, but we don't have the music transposed for us like a clarinet or a saxophone. We learn a whole new set of fingerings for every size of recorder. Also playing in different styles that again have their own fingerings, their own way of playing. Because the instrument is so flexible, it is easy to make it sound bad. But that's what I love about the recorder, that its flexibility is its danger, but also its beauty. You cannot tune a recorder. There are different ways to alter the pitch, tune your instrument. If you blow more and less, it goes up and down. If you make your instrument longer, it gets lower. If your instrument is warmer, it gets higher. If it's colder, it gets lower. And you can also lower the pitch by shading fingers. So this combination of temperature, breath pressure, tiny movements with your fingers, and maybe pulling the instrument out all serve to alter the tuning. I'm going to throw something else in there as well. An instrument like a piano is tuned in equal temperament, where every semitone is the same distance apart. Recorders are not always tuned like that. There are many other tuning systems where the notes are slightly different distances apart to give different effects in the music. Go into that another time. Some recorders are tuned in mean tone, where the thirds are pure but the fifths are different. We also often play in pure tuning, where we try and make every chord we play perfect. But because it's a different context, your G at the beginning of the piece might be a different G to your G in the middle of the piece. So tuning on a recorder is a constant dance of breath pressure and finger work and listening and reacting in the moment. Conclusion. Tuning is a big subject. It's very difficult, but it's one we work hard on. Can you tune a recorder? Oh yes. Recorders only play early music. This was something I heard a lot from people doubting my decision when I was going to study music at Conservatoire. They were like, oh, don't you know it's only early music? For a start, there's nothing wrong with that, but there have been more pieces composed for the recorder since the 1960s than in all the centuries before. And because you can make so many cool different special effects with the recorder, composers love the instrument, and we love composers, so that's good. Why are recorders so cheap? Okay, you might be able to get a piece of plastic like this for 10 bucks or even $2. Is it going to be a great instrument? No. A good handmade recorder takes many years of experience and then many days in the workshop to produce every single one. So for example, a handmade alto can set you back 2,000 or 3,000. If it's a very rare maker like a Fred Morgan, that could run to maybe 6,000. A very large subcontrabass recorder could be 15,000. You can ruin a recorder by oiling the block. Now in a recorder, surprise, it's only half a recorder. In the recorder, the block here is this piece of wood that guides the airstream to the right place to produce a beautiful sound. Every so often you have to treat your recorder with oil to make sure the wood stays in good condition. It was always drummed into me, if you get any oil on the block whatsoever, your recorder is ruined forever. I have lived in fear of getting oil on the block. Now, there are two schools of oiling thought. One school of thought, indeed, oils all of the recorder except for the windway and the block. The other school of oiling use a very heavy linseed oil, and they actually submerge the entire recorder, block included, in the oil for a week. I have always gone for the more cautious school of avoiding oiling the block, so I can't actually say if it will ruin your recorder or not. Myth, fact or fiction? I don't know. Myth, you can't play jazz on the recorder. Okay, so I can't play jazz on the recorder because I'm not a jazz musician, but there are professional jazz musicians out there. A while back I interviewed Tali Rubenstein, who is killing it on the New York jazz scene, and there are many others. Recorders can play jazz. Here's a good one. You have to keep all of your instruments played in at all times. When you first get your instrument, you have to play it in to let the wood settle. I don't know if this is scientifically accurate, but to kind of coat the inside with your saliva. I don't think you have to keep all of your instruments played in all the time on a schedule, especially if you've got loads of recorders. You'll drive yourself mad trying to play them all every day. If you have a new recorder, take a few weeks to build up how long you're playing on it to prevent it getting tired out in the beginning. If you've put a recorder away and it's been in the drawer for some months or even years, just spend maybe a week playing it back in again. You can feel a bit if it starts to get stuck or muffled too quickly, maybe you need to dial it back a bit. But I would say, don't worry. Fact or fiction? If you can play one recorder, you can play them all. The theory is the same. There will be slight differences in the size, in fingerings, in the way you use your airstream. If you compare my Renaissance instrument with a Baroque one, the windway has a very different width. This means a different way of blowing. So in theory, if you can play one recorder, you can play them all, but there are a lot of little different things that you have to know and that we get used to. But that's why our brains are so big. And the last one, the recorder should be used as a first step instrument before you move on to something real. The recorder is just as difficult as any other instrument. It has just as much potential and repertoire as any other instrument. It's not necessarily easier, it's not necessarily cheaper. On one hand, if you have a person who starts on the recorder, discovers a love for music and later goes on with a different instrument, that is absolutely fine. I'm not going to be upset about that. But this idea that you should start on the recorder and then discard it and move on to something better is such a shame, because then people don't get to see the true potential of this beautiful instrument. I would love for everywhere to have the resources to provide good recorders, the education and the training to provide professional recorder teachers, so that it could have this amazing recorder culture all over the world. That's not yet the case, and to be frank, there are more pressing priorities going on the earth right now. But until then, I will keep making this content along with my other professional recorder playing colleagues, trying to spread a bit of love for music and the joy of music making through the recorder. Here for free on YouTube. Not sure where this train of thought is going, but yes. So those were some of the common myths you hear about the recorder and my opinions on them. As always, you can subscribe to my channel by clicking on my face down here. Over here is the Team Recorder Patreon, where you can choose to support Team Recorder. Thank you. Ooh, and up here is a history of the recorder. Let's learn. Thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye.